In September and October of 2013, I went to Lima, Peru to do some volunteer work. It was an experience of a lifetime. Here is a glimpse of the land and the people who touched me forever. September 13th, 2013, I'm bound for Lima, Peru. My first day in Lima was a complete culture shock. I really wasn't prepared for the level of poverty I saw everywhere, and the contrast between rich and poor. On the same street, you'll see rickshaws that are barely held together, cutting in front of limousines. I mean, it's amazing what you see side by side. Driving, speaking of driving, it's like the show Don't Drive Her Lima, Peru. They really didn't make that stuff up. There's beeping horns everywhere, cars cutting in everywhere, and they're driving unbelievably close. Accidents will happen right in front of you and people just carry on. There's no polite stop and exchange insurance information. None of that. They smack into each other and they simply carry on. That's life here. On the way to the homestay from the airport, I was told that it's not safe for me to walk alone in San Miguel, the district that I'll be staying in. If I go out, it must be during the daytime, and I cannot look attractive to thieves, i.e. no cell phone, purse, jewelry, etc. This was actually the most difficult part of the trip for me, was just the loss of independence and not being able to just go out whenever I wanted to. And here we are on Miranga Street in San Miguel, a middle-class area of Lima where I was at my homestay. Once I arrived, I was told that we were lucky enough to have hot water, but interestingly, only in the shower. And this is not to be confused with the showers we have at home because we're really not talking about the same thing. The kitchen only has one cold water faucet, as does the bathroom sink. We were told to be very careful conserving electricity and water, a big problem with volunteers. And we had to turn on the hot water tank about 30 minutes before we wanted to have a shower. It was very little water pressure, and the water is not safe to drink. Oh, and don't flush the toilet paper. This was repeated several times. Unfortunately, we found out why, and even more unfortunate, I usually didn't remember until I accidentally threw it in the toilet and had to dig it out. We talked a little bit about diet, explaining that cereal is an expensive luxury, and they only use evaporated milk thinned with water. Meet Lola and Lulu. These ladies lived at my homestay and took me out to a gastronomica festival on my very first evening in Peru, where I tasted my very first pisco sour. They're very good, much like a margarita, but very strong. Then Lou pointed to a booth and proceeded to try to explain what the food was. She pointed to her heart, and I guessed correctly heart, thinking maybe it was like heart-healthy food or something. And then when she proceeded to go moo, moo, I just didn't get it, simply because I couldn't fathom that they sell cow heart at a festival vendor. Ew. Luckily, she spotted a chancha vendor, which is pork, and steered us from that booth. The pork is all on giant spits roasting over hot coals. We had to wait for the next batch to finish cooking, but oh, it was worth an hour's wait in line. Delish. The festival was so exciting, with its Latin American music and amazing scents everywhere. I was a total minority. There must have been 20,000 people in this area, and I saw only one other white couple. Consequently, I got a few stares and even a couple of winks. Cecilia, the lady who runs the homestay, has very limited English, while Lou and Lola have almost no English at all. However, my night out was not hampered in any way due to language. We got by with my Spanish-English dictionary app, and we had just a blast. The Monday after I arrived, my volunteer experience truly begins, and my eyes have been opened. It's harder than I imagined, and there are times when I have to stop and collect myself before anyone can see me break into tears. The institutionalism was a harsh reality to witness. Where children should be cared for in comfortable surroundings, these children are in institutions that resemble prisons with their barbed wire and high walls. They never leave their homes, and every day brings the same food: chicken, potatoes, rice, and perhaps a plantain for dessert. This house was built by volunteers to teach children what a real house is and what a bedroom, living room, and kitchen is, since this is a foreign concept in an orphanage. The most touching part of my trip by far was seeing all of the young people who volunteered their time to spend with these children. They bonded with the children. They bonded with each other. And they formed relationships that surpassed any language barrier, any racial barrier. Love was everywhere, and it was really all that mattered. There's so many things that we get wrapped up in at home that really didn't matter there. The name of the organization I volunteered with is called Tarpuy Sanqo, and it comes from an ancient Inca language. It means spreading love, and that's what I saw all around me.
Me to reveal all their thoughts they would conceal. I said, love, rescue me. And the sun in the sky.
Meet my babies. This is Julio, Yashua, Rizzo, Frank, Nicole, Valentina, Christian, and Jorge. I spent the most time with these children, and they're so near and dear to my heart. I miss them like crazy, and from what I hear, they're asking for me too. Here's little Valentina, who was left at the orphanage when she was 8 days old without even a last name. She never wanted to leave my side. She called me Mama. And if any other child tried to get a place on my lap, they got shoved across the room. How could you not love these faces? They would get so excited as soon as they saw my face peep in the door. They'd all come running with huge hugs, lots of kisses, calling me Mama, and wanting to see what special surprise I brought for them that day. Sometimes we did balloon animals, and oh, the crazy things they wanted me to make for them. Here, I chose suckers after the room mama was very angry with me for bringing chiclets that nobody wanted to give up even after 2 hours. She ran after them and around the room, trying to get the chiclets from them. Sometimes I brought bubbles, other times we played with Play-Doh, although I couldn't always understand what they wanted me to make for them. Sorry, Joshua. One exciting day, I brought tons of shoes. These little kids are not used to having their own pair of shoes. Look at his face. They're used to diving into a box that just has a whole bunch of shoes. They try to find a match and throw them on their feet. Well, this day, I got to bring them each their very own pair of shoes they could pick. Those smiles were so worth it. Now they all have their name written on their shoe, and they don't get to wear them until it's time to go to school. I also spent time at Semaita's orphanage, home to over 100 children with disabilities ranging from Down syndrome and autism to severe physical deformities and mental illnesses. Some children just simply thrash around and have absolutely no bodily control, and most of them need assistance with feeding as well as changing. A lot of the challenge in Semaitas is with no budget, there's simply no funding available for supplies to fix the wheelchairs. And honestly, most of those wheelchairs we would consider something that should be in a garbage dump. I was able to take donations that I received and go into the inner city to purchase vinyl and other supplies to fix the wheelchairs and to build harnesses to hold children in wheelchairs. The volunteers worked hard at fixing the wheelchairs with the supplies that we purchased, and they also worked hard around the grounds doing anything that they could to help.
Get together, feel alright. Let's get together, feel alright.
In La Punta, there's a home for girls who have experienced sexual abuse or been forced into prostitution. Again, these girls just wanted and needed love. There was children there who ranged from 7 years to 14 years. And it's so sad to think of what these girls have been through.
From the Father of creation, got one love,
One love,
one heart.
one heart.
Let's get
Together, feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright.
Now we head out to Pachacute. Pachacute is a sprawling shanty town about an hour and a half outside of Lima, and it's a bus ride we have to take with at least 6 volunteers for safety.
1, 2, 3.
Now, hard at work. We scrape black mold off the ceiling, we paint, we sweep and clean, and we have a little fun along the way. In Pachacute, Tarpuy Sanqo has built an institute where young and old alike can learn to speak English. Learning English is going to help their future by offering them new jobs within the tourism industry and other areas.
What am I gonna do now?
Pachacute has just recently gotten electricity, although most people are still without running water. In fact, when we used the toilets, we had to scoop out of a great big barrel and dump water down the toilets behind us. Tarpuy Sanqo has also built a home for a family where the little girls were one time sleeping on just a concrete floor with a lean-to all around them. The volunteers got together and built a house for the family. When it was finished, it felt like a palace to them, and the father cried. Here's their kitchen. Of course, no running water, but this is their palace. This is the girls' backyard. And this is their bathroom, and that's their water source right there, that great big barrel. This is the living room, and you see they do have electricity. These are the sweet little girls who live there. I gave them these little stuffies from gifts from my daughter, and that rest of the day they followed me around, sneaking little peeks and smiles at me. I'd really like to go back to this family and bring them some art supplies and some clothes and just some other things that they're in desperate need of.
And it'll be alright, it'll be okay, 'cause I'm gonna make my world a better place. Gonna keep that smile on my face. Lord, I'm gonna teach myself how to understand. Gonna make myself a better man.
As I mentioned, Peru is a place where rich and poor collide. And that couldn't be more true in Miraflores, one of the more beautiful districts of Lima, Peru. Here I find the history, the architecture, and the culture simply exquisite. I plan to return to Peru next May, and I have a few projects I'm working on. I want to bring 30 to 40 bicycles to Divinos Orphanage. That's the orphanage where you saw my little babies. My sweet little kids who have bicycles that have flat tires, chains dragging on the ground, and missing handlebars. So I'm really hoping that I've inspired you and you'll partner with me and help make that a possibility. I also want to bring some more supplies to Samaitas so that we can fix and repair those wheelchairs and other pieces of equipment. And finally, I want to go back to Pachacute and surprise those little girls with some clothes and some toys and some art supplies and really brighten up their lives. Above all, let's show these people that we care and share a little love with them. Just like the name of the organization, Tarpuy Sanqo. Spreading love.
I'm gonna make my world. You know I'm gonna make my world. Yeah, it's gonna be alright. Gonna make my world. Well, now, maybe I'm not supposed to know. Maybe I'm supposed to cry. And if nobody ever knows the way I feel, that's alright, that's okay. Cause I'm gonna make my world a better place. Yes, I'm gonna keep that smile on my face. Gonna teach myself how to understand. Gonna make myself a better man. Yeah, I'm gonna make my world a better place. Gonna keep that smile on my face. Gonna teach myself how to understand. Gonna make myself a better, a better man. Warrior, a better man.